Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Sorry for the late start, just having some technical difficulties, but we're all good now. And welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I edit them here for you live using DxO's Photolab 9.3.2 today. And this is a great opportunity to look at the workflow in Photolab and how I edit the photos. So I'll try and, verbalize what I'm doing and illustrate the tools that I use to edit the photos. And you can see my workflow of how I approach editing photos. And of course, Photolab is my editor of choice. I use it for like 99% of my editing. And I'm an affiliate for DxO as well, so if you'd like to give DxO Photolab a try, I'll have my affiliate links down below with a 15% discount code on top of that. Just Rob Trek is the discount code. So definitely check that out if you'd like to support these streams, or you can buy me a coffee or become a member, whatever works best for you. But submitting your images and participating in the chat is also a great way to support the channel. So thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and thank you, Henning, for the update. Let me just check the chat section real quick. So good morning, Darko. Roger, good to see you. Henning and Mark Leonard, good to see you. And Bamsem, good to see you. And Paul, good to see everyone. So, oh, and Robert's here. Hey, Robert, how are you? Okay, I haven't seen you in real life in a while. Hopefully you can make it out to our photo meets and definitely make it to the annual party for the photo group. Okay, where's my button for this? Let's try that. All right, perfect. So we'll start off here, one from Serge, and Serge is a long time viewer. Gosh, and his photography is really, improved by leaps and bounds over the years. And I think this is another great example. Let's see, it's a beautiful landscape with fog, and this is what every landscape photographer dreams of, right? Is to go out on a day like and have a day like this, right? Because so many times we go out and there's no fog and it's hazy. But there's beautiful color in the sky here. We have a nice dense fog going over the trees. Down in here, some frost, it looks like. Very, very clean image. All right. So what we'll do here is I always like to look at basically the overall exposure, white balance, and geometry of the image, sort of these global things that we can do. And it's best to do these things first in Photolab, because making changes later can sometimes mess up your local editing, which you don't want to have to go back and redo. So I always do those things first. So I feel like potentially there might be a slight horizon straightening here I might need to do, even though this is on a hill, and that might be perfectly level, but because it's a hill, there's a slight slant. I always like to still straighten it out a little bit, even though it's not actually level, just to make it look more level to the eye. So I can just hit the auto correction here and see what that does. Well, first I'm sorry, I always apply basic preset, which is essentially optical corrections and noise reduction. These are signature technologies in DxO, and it does a great job. So let me try the auto horizon correction again. Okay, yeah, just a slight tilt to the left. That's what I was kind of sensing. And let's see. Now with wide angle shots, and this is more of a normal field of view at 24 millimeters here, which is a basically 48 millimeter, more commonly referred to. But a lot of times when you shoot these landscapes, you get either too much foreground, too much background. So I usually end up cropping them like 16 by 9 or even wider. to do super panos. I think this shot here would benefit from a 16:9 crop. So I'm going to do that. And I do like the foreground here. I think this little fence line here adds I don't know, a little bit to the scene, a little bit more uh, uh, I guess, how would I put it, information to the scene. Because without this, the image is relatively static, right? And the same all the way through the frame. But this breaks it up very nicely here in the front, I think. So I thought that's a um, great composition here, because it looks like you could easily walk up to the fence and not include that. So I like that you included that. And there's beautiful light hitting the fence. Also gives us a nice uh, another reference point of where the light is coming from with these shadows on the fence poles. Um, so we'll do that. And then what I'd like to do is bring some of the color back in the sky, because I can see sort of this teal color up here. Then it gradually shifts into this sort of yellow-orange color down here. So I'm just going to do a control line in this case, and I'm going to just run it gradually down like this, and I'm going to move the dropper up into the sky. And usually Clearview does a good job at bringing the contrast in and bringing some of the color in. And I might just pull the highlights just a bit, just to see if we can get a little more color. Okay, and the light is definitely stronger here on the left side. And I'm also going to go to the color wheel, and this only affects the control line. Just increase the vibrancy, just to crank it up. And, you know, all the editing here is very subjective. It's not a critique at all. And, you know, lately I've been feeling very color, right? Like having very rich, saturated colors. My mood changes, you know, time to time. But this week I'm feeling very, like, I'm feeling very strong colors in general in my own editing. So I've been pumping up the saturation and vibrancy lately. And then sometimes I like to go black and white. But I think I'm just going to crank this up quite a bit here just to really accentuate that. Um, okay, I think that works. And maybe I can extend it down just a bit too. All the way down. Just to spread that tiny bit of saturation and color down gradually. And if we look at the mask, you can see it's primarily because of the masking here, the chroma and luma masking, really only affecting the highlights. So I'm not really affecting the shadow areas. Okay, very good. All right, that looks pretty good. So I don't think this image needs much more. I could try and bring out a little bit of speculars, maybe along the frost here. So I'm going to try and do that. Maybe I'll just use a brush. So we'll create a new mask here. And I'm going to check my flow. I'm going to bring the flow down to about 25%. Feathering at 100, opacity 100. Okay. So what that allows me to do is just brush in. So if I brush 4 times over one spot, that would be a 100% effect. But I just want to kind of bring it in gradually. So I'm going to start with that little thing there, whatever that is, and just push the highlights. Let me turn off the mask. And there's a little bit of a line here, and a little bit here, a little bit in here, and then a little bit smaller one here. Maybe we'll push a little bit there. Let me redo that. I'm gonna go very softly in there and here. I'm going to back off the highlights just a tiny bit. Okay, let me just put a little bit more here. And in here. I'm going to push the midtones a tiny bit as well. And let's put a little light onto these trees. So I'm going to have to push a little bit in the shadows. Okay, good. A little bit there. And some in here. A little bit more right here. And we'll just do little dabs here and there. Okay, and we're all done. So I'll just do a quick export. And we'll go into the original folder, sRGB. So when you export for display on screens and online, you want to export as sRGB. I would say that's a pretty good rule of thumb for just about any export, whether you're sending to a printer or what have you. But right. So I'm going to reset this, the original, and just do a quick side by side. We'll set this one as the reference. And I hit the F9 key to push those panels out to the side. Let me adjust my camera just slightly. There we go. Okay. So I think the crop made a big difference, and then just bringing in saturation of the colors worked pretty well. The only thing I might change if I were to redo this edit a little bit is just increase the greens here. This is more of a bluish green color, but for the most part, I think that looks pretty good. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. This one is from William. And hit F9. So we have a house on a hill. So there's a little bit of distortion here because you're pointing up. Let's start with a basic preset. And I'm just going to go to perspective correction. I'm going to click the auto and see what happens. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. So it looks like there's a shadow of a building not in the frame here. So that looks a little odd. And some interesting things in the windows. I might try to bring those out a bit more. Okay, and overall the composition, again, we have a lot of foreground here and sky that's really not helping or adding anything to the scene. So I'm just going to do a one by one. And I'm going to just balance it a little bit so we have about an equal amount on the right and left sides. And that pretty much centers it with the window here. Although it doesn't need to be because we're kind of not quite a 3/4 angle, but we are at an angle to the property. So what I might do is try and bring some light into the rocks here in the front. So again, I'll just use a brush. And I'll push the highlights first, go into the midtones, and then the shadows a bit. And a lot of times when I add light like this, I like to add a little warmth as well. Let me give it just a little bit here and there. How about up here? Okay. And a little bit more on the front. All right. Now the shadows here are pretty harsh. So I'm thinking if I can temper that maybe with a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to make a new mask. And I'm just using the AI mask this time. I don't know if I'm going to be successful, but we're going to try and work with the contrast. And then pull the highlights just a tiny bit. Maybe even desaturate a bit. Because this yellow, ooh, let's just desaturate the yellows and oranges here. Okay, that helps. Now we have a little better separation, I think, of this house versus because we were having so much yellow in here and so much yellow down in the grass and stuff. I wanted to separate the house a little more. Okay, let me work on these windows a little bit. I like being able to see inside them here. So I think maybe just I don't know if the AI tool can pick a window or not. Let's try. Yeah, a little bit. Good. So I'm going to add clear view to try and see if I can get a little more and then push the shadows. Oh, shoot. I made 3 separate masks for 3 windows. I guess that's okay because the windows have different luminances. I meant to edit all 3 at the same time, but let's do that. Okay, this window, let's add some clear view. Some micro contrast. Let me add a little micro contrast to this window. And then we'll go to the last window here. And clear view and micro contrast. Maybe a little push in the shadows. This top window has a bit too much light. Okay, let me just temper the sky a little bit. So let me make a new mask. I'll use the AI tool to select the sky. Just bring that in. Give it a little vibrancy and saturation. Let's see if clear view gives a little bit too. Yeah, there we go. And some micro contrast. See if I can bring out, because there's a very light haze or hint of clouds up there. I do mostly saturation, maybe some contrast, like regular. Okay, so I did a lot there to the sky. particularly with the clear view and contrast. So I'm going to go into the loop tool and just see if I overdid it up here. Just a little bit. Let me check increase the luminance a little bit. Okay. I think that's good. And then actually, let me just look at some of the fine detail, because I think I can improve or work on the sharpness a tiny bit. Because it's just a little bit soft here. I'm not sure why. Yeah, definitely down in here. So it looks like it front focused a tiny bit, because it's just slightly off back here, the focus. So what I'm going to do is, let's stay in the detail panel. Let's increase the radius of the unsharp mask. Oh, maybe about there. And then the intensity. Okay, let's see how that looks. It's not bad. I'm going to back it off a little bit. Let me turn this off a second. Let me go to the local adjustments, because I'm getting the grass is not too crispy, because the grass is in focus here. So let me go back to the mask of the house, which was here. And let's just increase this. Let me get the loop tool so I can get a good look at it. Back that off. It's getting a little too crispy, maybe about there. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better. We'll pixel peep a bit after I export this, but I think that's all this image needs. So let's export this. And I see Heather's got a lot of questions there, so I'll try and add to that. And Bamsem says, what was your photo of, Bamsem? Or did I get it? Is this your photo? Is like your day name, like your real name, William? Anyway, okay, let's reset this. We'll set this as the reference image, and then we'll compare it against. All right, so here's the original on the left. Very, very warm light hitting the building as well, or this house. So that's why I desaturated it a bit, because I wanted to separate it more from the rest of the scene. So that's what I did here. And then the windows, just to add a little bit more light in there, and then sharpening. So let's do a slider or split view, because I want you to see the sharpening that I did, because you can see this window or the building is a little bit soft. So I just used the sharpening tools to kind of bring that back. But I did it so that down here the grass isn't affected. It is improved a bit, but that's because of the optical module is is improving the sharpening down here, not because I added sharpening down here. And then also brought in some sky and added just a little bit of light in the foreground. It was a little bit too dark for my taste, but there you have it. I think that came out pretty good. So to pick all three windows, would it be the shift key? I don't think so, but let me try. Let's go back to the original and do the AI tool. So I'll click here and I'm holding the shift key. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so holding the shift key, I learned something new today. I never used that, but it makes complete sense, right? Use the shift key. Yeah, if you hold the shift key, you can create all the masks inside of one mask. I'll be using that from now on. Thank you. Okay, and then let's see. I'm sorry. 1 second. I have to get the phone. Sorry about that. See if there was another question here. I'm struggling with getting the dog's eyes right. That's why I sent the original and then my edits. Oh, okay. All right, your picture is next, so we'll just work on that. And Paul says, my image today is a stack that I have saved as a TIFF. I stacked a Neo and tried saving this DNG and PNG, but neither would. Yeah. Yeah, DxO will only open up TIFF files. DNG and PNG they can have proprietary stuff in them so that DxO can't open them. So, all right, let's do I think this is Heather's edit. So let's go to the original raw, and then we'll compare your edit to what I can do here. So let's apply basic preset, and I'm just gonna crop a little bit in. Let me do a 5x4. Because the background is really distracting. Let me see if that makes sense right about there. I like to get in tight sometimes with pet portraits or just portraits in general. Okay, that works. And we have really good sharpness and focus on the eyes. All right, that's good. So I'm going to add a little vignette as well, but let me fix the eyes first. So now you could use the AI mask to select the eye, for example, like that, but I prefer using a control point because it spreads the light around the eyes in general. And I just like this whole area to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to just crank up the sharpen or shadows and clear view and micro contrast. And I'm going to back that off a little bit, maybe add a little vibrancy as well. Let me just, yeah, before and after. Okay, I think that works well. And I think the only other thing this image really needs is maybe a little bit of vignette. So let's put the vignette towards the top. And to make a vignette, if you don't have Film Pack installed, is you just turn your chroma and luma sliders down to 0, then invert it. And now you can see the mask is where it's going to create a vignette. And usually I like to just start to pull the blacks in first, and then the shadows and midtones. I think that might be too much. And whenever I work with the selective tones, I generally like to have a straight line. Okay. All right, so let me just see where we're at. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit more vignette up here. Make a new mask. Just going to do a straight pull. Just a linear darkening there, maybe down here as well. Just a little bit there. And I'm going to add just a little more light overall on the right side. Whoops. I think maybe if I start up here, and let me tighten up the luma and chroma just a bit. Check the mask. Or back it off. Yeah, I need to back it off a little bit. I try not to do more than 5 or 10, plus or minus 5 or 10. And oops, maybe not there. Make that a lot smaller. Okay. And then just a little bit down here. Oh, a new control, a new mask. And let's start with the midtones. And I go back over here. And push a little more. Maybe add a little warmth. Okay. I'm going to go back to this other one, the shadow area, and just make it a little cooler. there. Okay, I think that's it. So let me export that. Okay, William, good to know. It's too bad YouTube. William Bam Sam says I'm William, so it's good to know. Let me go ahead and reset. I'll set that as the reference, and we'll compare it. So I just prefer the tighter crop. Again, it's all subjective. And then bringing out the eyes. And then just adding a little bit more dynamic lighting by brightening up the top right corner where the light's coming in, and just darkening down here with very subtle shifts in white balance. I think helps just make the image look more 3D, give it a little 3D pop, so to speak. And we'll compare your edit with mine. Let's see what the differences are. So I'm going to change my image to the reference and select yours. So this is Heather's edit on the right. Yeah, so the eyes, you got the luminance on the eyes right, but you need to add some clear view to make them a little bit glossier, because there's just a little bit of haze. It's probably an older dog, possibly. But there's a little bit of haze in the eyes, so just adding some clear view and micro contrast. Because if we look at the eyes close, you can see that the brightness is about the same, but the contrast, and there's no haze, right? And I feel like the contrast overall is a little bit strong on your edit here too. But since you asked about the eyes, I think definitely the editing here on the eyes is better. Everything else is kind of subjective, right? But I just wanted a little softer look and a little bit more dynamic range, because you can clearly see on here where this upper right corner is brighter overall than the bottom left, and on yours it's much more even, other than these highlights. Okay, and then cropping out the background is just not helping in this case. All right, let's go over here to the next one. Okay, another landscape here. We have a pretty pretty definitive foreground here, but I'm not sure how that works. So I'm going to apply a basic preset. Now I have to tweak this preset a little bit because this is a Fujifilm. So I'm going to go over here because my preset just does basic, well, not basic, but this D prime XD2S. But there is a D prime XD3 made for X-Trans sensors, so I'm going to select that. It gives us just a little bit more detail and less worminess that sometimes you get with X-Trans sensors. Or with respect to the composition, again, I think a 16:9 would be about right if I want to keep this entire tree in the frame. I'm not sure I need to. The horizon looks perfect, though. I'm not sure. Let me just look at this for a minute. I like to just kind of zoom down so it's smaller. It helps me just see the main elements better than if I zoom in, I'm seeing too much detail. I kind of just like to feel the balance of the composition by making it smaller. And the composition feels very heavy on the left side. There's a lot of weight here. Which can work if it's anchoring something else, but it's not. It's really only this tree. And this shoreline, let me just look. If I come down, maybe come down here. That's feeling a little more balanced. Because with the tree being in the far left or more left of the frame, it's just weighing the frame down for my eyes. So I'm just going to balance it so it's more in the center. And then we have this nice line on the bottom right corner. So you did a really good job framing here. And then we're coming around. So our eye, eye kind of goes here, but it gets broken by this tree. But otherwise, we have a good line going into the mountains. All right, the highlights are a bit clipped in the clouds. I don't know if we can recover those, but we'll try. So I'm going to move the eyedropper up here and just see. Yeah, they're clipped because I'm just moving the exposure slider to -4, and you can see it's not making any difference. So I'm not going to be able to recover those, but I'll just try and temper the highlights a bit. Some clear view and micro contrast. And what I might do is clone a little bit of the sky from this side. Well, I'm sorry. Let me try and clone a little bit from somewhere else. That looks good. A little bit in here. This might be a mistake. Let me just look at this one. This might be a mistake. Let me select this. I'm going to reduce the opacity a bit. There we go. That's better. Get some of that. And then reduce the opacity here a little bit. Okay, I think that looks a little more natural. We need maybe a little bit of the same treatment over here. Whoops. Let's try. Okay. Whoops. Let me see. Okay, that helps. All right. Now let's work on the water. And just use the AI tool. And just add some clear view. And just pull that in a bit. There's a little bit of color here, some purples and stuff. Let me see if vibrancy makes it, yeah, vibrancy makes it kind of interesting. Okay. um, you know, the overall white balance could use a little bit of warmth actually. Let's just give it a couple of hundred Kelvin. About 500. Yeah, about 500. And then I'm going to separate some of the light. Let's just use an auto masking brush here on the tree. And I'm going to push the highlights a bit. Add a little more. And then make a new mask. And I'm going to just go along the top of this tree. Let me erase a little bit off. I don't want it to bleed into the water. Let's try again. Highlights. It's a mid-tone. A little bit of shadow, not too much. And a little bit of warmth. Okay, I'm bleeding over a little bit, so I'm just going to erase a little more. Getting this very, very mild halo. All right, that's good. All right, the rocks here in the sand, I like this too. I wonder if I can, let me just hit a spot. Let me try some clear view in the sand. Micro contrast. Just to bring that out a bit more. Okay. All right, let me see where I'm at here. It's a little bit of warmth back here too that I want to try and bring out. So let me try. I'm just going to add a little bit of, oops, too much. Just a touch of white balance here. Maybe that's too much. Where are we at? We're at 67. Let's just add about 200. Do the same thing in here. Move over. Let's add a little bit of here. A little bit there. Okay, turn off the mask. I'm debating if I should add contrast or not. Yeah, just a tiny bit. Micro contrast. So I don't lose, I want to keep this nice little haze we have in the background. But since I added a little bit of light to some of the peaks here, I'm just adding some micro contrast, which I think works okay. All right. Let me go back here. I'm going to get rid of this one right here. me see. Yeah, all right. Okay, I think that's good. So let's export to disk. And we'll set this as the reference. And when that's done exporting, we will do a side-by-side. So reset. Okay, so here's the original on the left and my edit on the right. Basically, I just cropped in and made it warmer. And then little accents of light, like on the tree here and in the mountains. And like I said, I don't know why, it just felt really heavy here on the left. So cropping in a little bit helped, I think, with that. And then replacing the clipped areas up here with some clouds from another part. I think that helps too. So there's the before, and there's the after. And bringing in some of the color in the water was kind of interesting. This looks a little unnatural right here. So I might back off the vibrancy a little bit, but other than that, I think that's how I would edit this one. Okay. And Chuck says a 21 by 9 might have worked. Possibly. I mean, I don't think I have a 21 by 9, but I got a 65 by 24 that I could try. Yeah, I mean, that works too. Like I said, it's very subjective. A 21 by 9 would be better though. 16 by 7. Okay. Hopefully the audio's back. I don't know why that went off. Maybe the battery died on it. I just plugged it back into the USB. But what I was saying was, the center of this arch here doesn't line up with the center of this arch. So I'm thinking maybe you're standing to the left a little bit. Just a tiny bit. That's top dead center. It's a little bit off from... I found that perfect symmetry works well for architecture in general. When you're this straight on, If you're at an angle like a 3/4, that's one thing, but this is, you're almost straight on, but you're just a little bit off. Okay, let me brighten this up and see what's in here. Okay, I'm gonna click the perspective button, see if that doesn't help at all. It does a little bit, but a lot of cracking. Okay, let me unplug this. Hopefully that'll be less cracking, but the battery is low on it. That's why. All right. I'm gonna go with something about here, where we don't have to worry about the symmetry as much. Let me try a different power. I'm going to plug in a different power into this thing because it's going to die again. Sorry, I didn't check the battery level. Hopefully that doesn't crackle as much. Let me know how that is. But let me I need to get this arch out of the way. Or keep it in the frame. I think that's the best I can do. This sounds okay. All right. I'll use this power bank. The other power supply is getting a lot of AC static noise because it's plugged into the wall. But if I just use a separate straight DC power bank, I shouldn't get as much static other than, I'm not using a shielded cable, but okay, so back to the image. This architecture drives me nuts when it's not exactly how I would do it, right? If I do this, I think, let me see. I think this is the way I'm going to go. Because clearly you intended the foreground of this arch to be in the frame. So I'm not going to take that out. But I do need to just straighten it a tiny bit. Okay. So let me brighten this just enough globally. And then we'll work on the highlights in here. Maybe we need a little bit of warmth as well. Inside. Okay, now let me go to, I'm just going to use a masking brush. Actually, I think a control point would be better. And then we're going to just tighten up the luma just 5 points. And okay. So this one definitely, we need to be a little bit more. I think these highlights are clipped. Let me look at the original. Yeah, the highlights are clipped. So let's not try and bring those back too much, just a little. And let's do something separate for the floor. Let me use a control line. Try some clear view. A micro contrast. A little bit of vibrancy. And some warmth. I'm going to add a touch of warmth up here too. Make sure I'm on a highlight and tighten the luma a tad. And let's add some warmth. Okay, I'm just going to do, let me increase the sharpening just a bit there. Let me get my loop out. Okay. So I'm kind of looking at the details up in here. I think we're okay. Let me try it. Expanding the radius here. Okay. All right, I think that's it. So my biggest challenge was really just dealing with the overall composition being just a little bit off center. Like I said, it might be the actual architecture of the building where these things don't line up perfectly. But these columns, yeah, I think that's the case because this column should not be this far to the right relative to this arc. So I think this arc is off center to the left. So I'm wondering if that's the case, do I just embrace that and see? Let me see how this crop works. All right, this is a better crop because that arch is definitely off center relative to the other arch. I think And let's just expand that. So I'm making the center here. The center here. Yeah, I want this to be that arch to be the center. Still a little bit off, but we're okay. Okay. I like this better. Okay, I'm going to export this. Hi, Garrett. It says, good afternoon from very snowy Netherlands. Just sent an image in for edit. Yeah, I have time. I have some time, so I'll download that. All right, let's set this as the reference. All right, so clearly the exposure here is, this is a shot that if you wanted to save the highlights, you'd pretty much have to bracket this shot. You know, exposure bracket, and then, you know, blend them later. But in a single shot, it's really hard to get the highlights and the shadows without losing some detail somewhere, either in the shadow or in the highlights. But we were able to recover some colors and detail in the floor. And what was throwing me off was this arch being off center. And I don't think it's because you were standing to the right. I think that's just the architecture based on what I can gather from these columns. And, you know, this column is not centered. Yeah. Whoever designed this building had no sense of symmetry. But anyway, so I just decided to embrace it and just go off center with the arch. And I think that works. I think it works. Overall. Okay. Let's do the next one here. So this is a focus stacked image from Paul. Hence, you know, the format is in TIFF. I think all we have to do here is isolate the ice crystals and darken the background. We are getting some minor artifacts, I think. But overall, it's a pretty good stack. So let's do a basic preset, and I'm going to crop out this one leaf and a lot of the corner here, because where I'm seeing some haloing, and this might be just out of focus ice here, but it might be an artifact from the stacking. But I think we can kind of come just right about here, and we get all the detail we need. It feels out of balance. Okay, that feels about right. Let's hit it with just some global clear view. Okay, I like that. And we'll try smart lighting. That's not doing anything. Let's temper the highlights just a tad. Okay. I really want to increase the contrast here. Let me just try micro contrast. Yeah, that works. I'm going to get the loop tool. So I'm still seeing a tiny bit of noise. I don't have access to the deep prime with TIFF files, so I'm just going to manually do it. We don't need any chroma. And then let's work with the unsharp mask. I'm going to crank up the threshold just a tad. Oh, I'm getting some artifacts there. Yeah, I think we're okay. All right. Okay, now, let me see if I can darken the background a bit, because that's kind of green. So I'm going to tighten up the luma. Just hit some spots around the ice. And let's pull. Let's pull it in. Tighten up this luma. All right, good. And I need to crop out that leaf just a tiny bit more. Okay. All right, that's looking good. So let's work with the sharpening a bit. Just a tad more in the detail panel. And the threshold, right about there. Go back to the noise. Let me pull this off a bit. No, I think about 80 was about right. Okay. Let me go back to clear view and micro contrast. Let's crank that up. So what I'm trying to do is just separate the ice as much as I can. All right. let's export that. And Tree said I sent in a Bombay hook sunrise. Okay, that's just two more. I think I can do two more. So let's do a side by side. All right, so here's the original on the right, and that's my edit on the left. Again, I just went with a very punchy color, but I wanted to minimize, this greenish background. So just using control points to kind of go around and selectively select the green by using the chroma mask of the control point. I was able to do that. And, cropping out this little leaf here. And some of the artifacts that I'm seeing over here, or these are not artifacts. It's probably just out of focus area. But it was distracting to me in this corner. And then just an overall balance, right? Top left, bottom right, feel balanced. We're good. And we can do a slider maybe. All right. Very good. And we'll look at your edit. Paul said he sent an edit in. All right, let's go to one here from John. And customize. All right. A little bit of a lens flare spot here. Oh, you're shooting with a 9mm. That's why. Wide angle lenses. It's hard to not get lens flare. Particularly you're shooting directly into the sun almost. It's probably just above the frame here, based on the shadows coming directly at you. So I think we need to come in a lot tighter. So let me apply basic preset. And think about the crop. Maybe about there. So what I want to do is just brighten up the bicycles and saturate them a bit, and then temper the brightness of the ground here. I don't know the best way to use the AI tool in this situation. Let me just try that. And then we're going to add a submask, and we'll just brush in a little bit extra. Okay. So let me brighten those. Increase the saturation and vibrancy. Like so. Then I'm going to go back here to the light panel and just globally darken it. Maybe about there. Wow. Go back here. Pull the brightness down. Okay. Just get a regular brush. And again, I'm at 25% flow, so I should probably go to 100% flow because I don't need to be too, I don't need too much finesse with this part. I can just be very liberal. Um, all right. Let me see if I can fix this spot just a little bit with a control point. Just add clear view. And maybe desaturate a tiny bit. Looks like there's greens and purples in there. How about just a global? No. That might be the best I can do without. We'll leave that alone. Okay, that's about the best I can do with that sun flare. Let's see where we're at. That's about all I can do here. I think a perspective thing would really be bad. Yeah, that's why I didn't bother with this, because I can tell from the geometry of this image that the auto perspective tool is going to jack that up. Uh, I think that's it. So let me export this. This was a tough shot because there's a ton of speculars and grittiness to this image that I don't know. I know John doesn't like black and white, so I'll leave it. But there's no way to temper the highlights without really making it look unnatural because of the way the speculars and shadows are on the actual subject. Okay. So set this as the reference. Reset it. So there's man, I didn't do a good job with this. But I just tried to temper the highlights and crop in a bit. I don't know what else to do here. And then minimizing that lens flare that was right here in the center. But okay, I think that's all I can do. I could have worked on a little bit of the perspective a little more, but I don't know if that would change things much overall. But okay, thanks for sending that one. That was a hard one. Let me go to the... I need to go over to... and see what else came in new. Okay, I'm going to download these. I see Paul's edit. Gosh, it's so similar to mine again. Whoops, come on. And then one here from Garrett, little moth. Moth butterfly? I forget what they're called exactly. And then I see Shree's sunrise. All right. So just a quick comparison with my edit versus Paul's. So we'll set mine as the reference. So here's Paul's edit. He cropped all the way in onto this one ice structure. And tried to minimize the background as well. But I just did more and more contrast. Oops, you're not seeing that. Sorry. This is my edit on the left. This is Paul's edit on the right of the ice crystals. Pretty neat, though. Pretty neat. Like I said, I minimized the background a little more. You know, by making it black. But other than that, it's a very similar edit and more contrast. Okay, let's see. Let me go over here. We have, according to Garrett, this is a hummingbird moth. Okay. So we'll do a basic preset first. And let's crop in. Get rid of all this negative space on the left side. I think front and center is good, right in the center. Just a little bit of a tilt. I'm looking at the wood grain back here. Let's try a smart lighting and some clear view, some micro contrast, and then I'm going to, I wonder if I can select just the wood. Yeah, let me select the wood. Just going to temper that a bit, like so. And then we're going to add a little bit of light to the eye. I think I can just simply do this with some micro contrast. And let's add just a little more color using control points. So I'm going to add some vibrancy. Give you one there too. All right. And I'm gonna darken the right side a little bit more. So I'll use a control line right about there. Back off the Luma and Chroma. And let me cool it off a little bit back here. And then another control line for the top right. And I'm going to back off the Luma and Chroma quite a bit on this side. Put it on the moth. And let's just add a little bit more light in here. And then the moth itself, I'm going to add a little more micro contrast. So I just used the AI tool to select it. Let me get in with the loop tool. Let's see how we're doing. Back this off. Some clear view. Good. And just a little bit of extra light and a little bit of warmth. Okay. I think let me look at the mask on this. No, I think it's the wall. Yeah, the wall, there's a little bit of an artifact here. So we'll just add a little bit in here. There we go. All right, let's export that. Well, let me just check the fine detail again. I'm going to go over to the detail panel. Maybe add a little bit more luminance. Ooh, no, not good. Turn off the unsharp mask. No. Right about there. Okay, let's export that. All right, so here's the original on the right, and then my edit on the left here. Basically just added some brightness to it, right? But not in an even way. I mostly added the light over here to the left side and tried to maintain the shadow area over here. I should have added a little more light to the flowers. Maybe. Let me do that. It just needs a little more light. So I'm going to use the masking brush. Let's just push it a little bit. Right about there. and a little bit of warmth. And some micro contrast and clear view. So now it looks like a little bit of light's kind of peeking in, right? All right, let's export that. Okay, there we go. So I just kind of artificially added some light coming in from the left side, just to make the overall scene a little more dramatic and less flat, and a crop, right? Because I'm comparing it against, yeah, and a little bit of a crop. So if we do the slider, we can look at the detail. You know, we got rid of all the noise, and then we brought back a lot of the details, right? So I think that looks pretty good. Oops, sorry. There we go. Final edit. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's see. Looks like, where's Shree's sunrise? I don't know why it's not here. Well, we'll do this one next. Okay, let's apply basic preset. Ah, classic, a Rebel T3i. That is the Walmart special, but it's a great camera. Okay, Garrett, we'll look at your edit of the hummingbird moth. So I think here, we just need to brighten up the foreground a little bit and the horses, and that's about it. I think the composition is already pretty well balanced. Maybe just a little bit tighter from the right side. There. And I mean, this shot is pretty much ready. So I'm going to focus mostly on the reds and oranges here and the yellows. Just brighten those up a bit. I'm going to back off the luma and chroma. Well, not the chroma. Let me see. Maybe a little push on the shadows here. And some micro contrast. Okay. And then we'll spot check some of the horses just in the shadow areas. Just give it a little bit of a push. Good. Okay, and then let's brush in just a little bit of light here. And along the top. Let's do one more. Maybe a little bit right there. A little bit on this grass. Okay, and then let's do the water. So I'll select that with the AI tool. Some clear view, pull the blacks in. Maybe cool it off a tiny bit. Oh, I can't. This is a JPEG. Okay, that's all right. So it's a JPEG, so I don't have as much flexibility here. So I tried to work within, I guess, the JPEG. I went over just a little bit here, so I'm gonna, what I'm doing is I'm hitting the Alt key, and that creates a negative brush, and I'm just gonna brush off the top here. I created a little bit of a halo. All right, let's do the sky. I think the sky could stand to be a little brighter and a little clear view. Maybe even some micro contrast. Okay. All right, we'll call it there. So I'm going to reset this. Set that as the reference. Okay, so here's my edit on the right. That's the original on the left. Very, very subtle difference, right? But basically I just brightened the foreground and then I darkened the water. And I added a little bit more speculars to the horses, so it'll be easier to see if I come in really close. Oops. We'll stick with a side by side. But seeing the original, they're a little bit dark, so I just brighten them up a little bit. And then the grass, you can see I brightened a little bit. And then just a little kiss of light along the top. And that's it. So just basically adding contrast overall to bring out the clouds, separate the water with the beach here, and add some speculars to the horses. Okay. I know I downloaded your Shri, but let me download it again. I don't know why it didn't come down. But I got one more sunset to do, and then we'll compare. I see Garrett's edit in there. Cool. All right. Okay. So definitely a horizon. We want to silhouette these birds a little more. So I'll probably crop in so you can see them a little better. But let's do a basic preset. And let's try the auto horizon. Okay, not bad. Maybe a little bit more. I'm just eyeballing it. And then let's center the sun. So I'm going to bring this in and center the sun and then come up. Let's do a vertical. Is this still centered? Right about there. Should we put the sun in the center? Yeah. Just a little bit over. Okay. All right. The color is a little rich. Let's try a different color profile. Portrait 1 looks pretty good. But the original OM1 profile I think is best. And then let's go into micro contrast, clear view, a little bit of a push in the midtones and shadows. Pull the blacks in to make that silhouette a little stronger. Something like that. Okay, and then let me just try with a brush. Okay, get rid of that. Come in a little tighter. Okay. These geese or ducks or whatever they are up here, I need to, let me get a control line. I'm going to move this dot right on the duck. Let me back this luminosity off a bit. And just try to make those more silhouette. Okay. I'm going to just get rid of some of the darkening we got down in here. We don't need it. All right, let me see where I'm at. Oops. Okay, we need a little more light with this brush here. Let's see. Okay. A little bit more over here. All right, I think that's it. So let me export that. Then we'll do a side-by-side. Set this as the reference. All right, so here's the original on the left. Clearly the horizon is crooked, but I think a vertical worked a little better. Uh, it'd have been nice to get the sun, the full circle of the sun down here in the foreground to kind of balance the image overall. But yeah, I think a vertical works better. If you'd have held the camera in a vertical, portrait mode, it'd been a little better than this landscape shot, because this is a super telephoto anyway. So you're not going to get a very wide shot. It's going to be very compressed. But yeah, I think that this works better as a vertical than it did as a landscape. And these ducks or geese in the water, or swans, whatever they are irrelevant. Because the main thing is right up in here, the silhouette of these other ducks or swans. All right, let me check. I think someone said they sent an edit of their... I think I already downloaded it. So that looks like my edit. So we'll set that as the reference. Let me check. So Garrett sent his in, and it's been a long time, Garrett. Haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you again. Do that. All right. So, there it is. All right, so the white framing border works great, and overall your image is a lot brighter. But I think, gosh, now my image feels like it's dark. Whew. Could use a little brightening. Whoops, not yours, mine. About a full stop. All right, let's compare again. All right, that's better. But okay, very nice edit. I love the white border on that. Looks good. So that's all of the images I have today. And thank you so much for sending those in. I really appreciate it. It's always fun editing all these wonderful pictures. And hopefully you gained a little bit about how to use DxO Photolab and some of the tools I use, and my thought process. And again, all of the edits I did are very subjective, right? In terms of what I decide to make brighter, how I crop the image, and any comments therein, right? I'm not judging at all. It's just simply how I would edit them if they were mine. I try to do these every week, so if you're new here or watching this and you've not submitted an image before, I encourage you to submit your images so you can get a handle on, some of the tools in DxO, and also some tips on editing in general, looking at compositions, and how to think about scenes when you're out in the field. Watch your corners, geometry, symmetry, all of those basic composition tools, come into play when I'm editing. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just how I edit and how I see things. So you guys, thanks again. And I will be back Sunday, but a little bit later on Sunday, because I'm hosting a photo meetup again this Sunday morning, going into DC. DC is really nice now. I just can't believe the difference there is between when I went last week and from a few years ago when I used to go. And I've always avoided DC. Still have to be super careful of traffic lights and, all those camera things. But anyhow, I'll talk about that on Sunday. You guys have a great weekend, a great week, and a great rest of your life. Good day, good week, good life, right? Eat healthy and exercise. I know we probably overdid it like I did over the holidays, but now it's time to get back into gear. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks for joining me.